Welcome back to Live from Paris, and with just 3 days to go, it is the very last campaign Chronicles with Elena and I before the first round, anyway, of France's presidential vote. When you join us, of course, next Monday, we'll have the results for you. But there is a bit of a row going on over when exactly media organisations should release those results. Officially, there's a strict ban on publishing or broadcasting any exit polls until all votes close at 8 p.m. on Sunday. But in the age of Facebook, Twitter, is that hopelessly out of date? Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Elena Casas, of course, as ever, and also by Warwick Doyle, Associate Professor of Communication at the American University of Paris. We'll come to you in just a moment, Warwick Doyle. First of all, though, Elena, what's this row about then?
Well, some exit polls will be available from about 6:30 on Sunday. That means we'll have them in the newsrooms to try and help us prepare bulletins coming up. The papers will have them when they start preparing their issues for Monday. But there is an absolute strict ban on pain of a €75,000 fine on our broadcasting or publishing or releasing anything that could help people guess what the results will be before 8 o'clock. Now, but, of course, this information is going to be revealed on Twitter, isn't it? As soon as anyone knows, that it will be out there. People will find out. It's going to be inevitable, almost, on Facebook, Twitter, on their iPhones. People will be finding this out. Now, different papers have taken different points of view on this. On the one hand, you could say it's undemocratic for the voters who go to the poll latest on Sunday, like if you go and vote at 7:30, that you'd have more information about what's going on than the people who vote in the morning. It's not fair. On the other hand, is it really fair that journalists and people who are in the know the results before the general public? Don't we have a responsibility to tell them? So, on the one side of this debate, you've got the Huffington Post, who says they will not, under any circumstances, be publishing any part of the results online before 8 p.m, that we should abide by the law. And anyway, they say, what happens on Twitter doesn't really influence how people are going to vote anyway. Of the amount of people in France who are on Twitter, how many of them are really going to be influenced by what they see and then go out and vote, in a different way to how they would have done without seeing it? On the other hand, there's Slate, who says, well, actually, if something looks like something shocking, for example, might happen, like if Marine Le Pen does really well, like her father did 10 years ago, and you perhaps weren't planning to vote, and then you saw that she was doing very well on Twitter at 7 p.m, that might very well provoke quite a lot of people to run to the polls to try and push her back down, if you like, as an example. On the other hand, if you're a left-wing voter and you're on the left of the left and you see that François Hollande is definitely going to win, you might go out and say, oh, well, I'll go and vote for Jean-Luc Mélenchon instead, to express how far to the left I feel now that I know that François Hollande's victory is safe. So they reckon, you see what I mean, though? So they reckon it could influence the way that people might vote. Over at the Nouvel Observateur, they even say that if results are published too early, that could theoretically, under constitutional law, make the whole vote null and void, because officially no one is allowed to know any part of the exit polls before all polling booths close at 8 o'clock.
It's very intriguing stuff, isn't it? And to discuss that, I'm joined on the line now by Warwick Doyle, Associate Professor of Communication at the American University of Paris. Thanks very much for being with us today. Do you think it's going to have an effect? I mean, if you knew who was doing well, who wasn't at 6:30, would you pop out and change your vote, possibly?
Yes, I would. I think a lot of people would, because I think in the current election in France, a lot of people are voting strategically, a so-called useful vote. So many people who would rather vote further to the left are voting for Hollande in the hope that in the fact that they're opposed to Sarkozy winning, and they feel that a vote to the left could lead to the scenario from not the last election but the election before, where Le Pen was a candidate in the second round. And there's probably also people on the right who vote for Sarkozy in the same manner. Some who would rather vote for Bayrou, or would rather vote for Le Pen even. So, yes, I think that if people knew about that, their strategy would definitely be changed. However, having said that, it's not all that new, because since the early days of the Internet, the Swiss Francophone newspapers have always published these things, the Tribune de Genève. So all you had to do was go on the Internet on the Tribune de Genève and see that if you were really interested. Or Aujourd'hui, the sort of French tabloid, published a photograph of the headline of the Journal de Genève. It didn't publish the results as news. It simply published a photo of the Swiss newspaper with the results.
It does seem, though, that here in France, a number of mainstream news outlets are actually considering breaking the law themselves and publishing partial results before 8 p.m. Do you think they should?
Oh, well, it's not my position to say whether they should or not. they're facing a €750,000 fine. Isn't that it? I mean, it's extremely...
Do you think it would be more democratic, if you like, for people voting late in the polls to know how other people have voted, or do you think everyone should be voting on a level playing field?
I suppose that in theory it's better if everyone votes on a level playing field. The thing is, there is no level playing field left to a certain extent. I mean, once you have internet, national laws, part of the problem of the election is dealing with globalization and the loss of sovereignty of the French state over all sorts of things, including the economy, banking, and so on. And it's the same in elections. It's not just Twitter and Facebook. It's the problem of the French state can no longer control information in the way it used to. This is not possible. So, though yes, I agree in principle, in reality, it may be better to regulate it in some other way. We'll see. I doubt whether they will do it. The fines are too heavy and the judicial system is too accurate. I can't imagine that Libération, given its financial problems, even though it says it may do it, will do it. But people might buy the newspaper in the hope that they did.
We'll find out in 3 days' time. Warwick Dahl, thanks very much. That's Warwick Dahl, Associate Professor of Communication at the American University here in Paris. Thanks very much for being with us. Thanks to Elena as well. More Campaign Chronicles tomorrow, but not with us. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. There will, of course, be continued Campaign Chronicles, though, in between the two polls. You know what I'm talking about. That's it from us. More news coming up very shortly. Stay with us.